Welcome to Drinks Coach. This is a bit of a fill-in. I felt like there was some unfinished business. If you go back to episode 15, I talk about some unusual varieties from Italy. Varieties that mean a lot to me. Also, we were talking about Philip Schofield's wine boxes. Shout out to you, Philip. Hope they're doing well. Don't be a stranger. Okay, so we've got wines here which kind of like fill in the Italian white wine story. Because in that show, if you go back to watch episode 15, not now, I mean afterwards, right, okay. I was talking about how excited I was when I first finally went to look at vineyards in the Naples area, Napoli, around Campania and Basilicata, and drunk some wonderful red and white wines, which I've always loved. But in situ, like everything, you just end up just absorbing much more about why they're special, and it comes with a chunk of culture, which is sexy, and frankly, no better pizza in the world. So we had in that show a variety called Uva di Troia, which is a red variety from the sort of south east of Italy, and then we had Falangina, which is the Philip Schofield wine box made by the very competent, brilliantly run business When in Rome. I've been waiting for a wine box of Grillo, Grillo, from Sicily, which Emma and I, we've been to loads of different Waitraces around. We just can't find it. This is really frustrating because I know the wine's so delicious. Before I did this show, we decided, do you know what? Fuck it, we're going to do it anyway. So in that show, if you watch the episode 15 of this show, you'll see that there is a red wine, which is Philip Schofield's wine box, which is just a really versatile, fantastic red. You got Falangina, a variety which I could do a day on. I could do 5 shows on it because I'm so mad crazy about it. Also a variety called Greco. Now, if you look at the wines of Campania, there are 3 really important white varieties. Falangina, Greco, and Fiano. Now, more specifically, Fiano dell'Avellino. And shout out to my beautiful friends at Donnachiara and the many other friends around who showed us such a spectacular time. And I missed them after one night of how much their hospitality meant to us. But I thought, well, I haven't really done anything with that show other than promote Philip Schofield's wine boxes, which wasn't the intention. It was trying to offer good value drinking. So what I've done is I've picked some other drinks which are popular in the Italian consciousness and the English drinking consciousness and explain them a little bit more. So, number 1, Soave. Yeah, you heard that one. Yeah, Soave, I think you probably have. Gavi. Have you heard that one? Yeah. Fiano. Well, I just bloody said it, didn't I? So anyway, 3 wines. We'll be done in 10 minutes. Okay, so this is, for many, many people, the ground zero, the missing link, the Cro-Magnon man of Soave. Soave has grown into a range of white wines which go from the very ordinary wine boxy, but remarkably competent, to be honest, to world-class wines, amongst others. But there was a time when Soave in the 70s, people just laughed at it. Soave in a screw cap on the bottom shelf for £1. Well, this is Pieropan. Thank you very much, Liberty Wines, Mr. Gleave et al., for sending this to me. You sent it to me a while ago, but I bided my time. This is 2019, which is a lovely white wine vintage in the northeast of Italy. Soave is a region somewhere between Lake Garda and Veneto, and around that area, and Venice. So it's kind of like that area east of Lake Garda. And there are a couple of varieties allowed in this wine, but the one that really matters is a grape variety called Garganega. If you see it and go, oh, Garganega, same variety. Okay, you just said it wrong. Okay, so Garganega, it can also be blended in with a little bit of a Trebbiano di Soave. Trebbiano is the variety, probably one of the most widely planted white varieties in the whole of Europe. It's also known as Uni Blanc in France and is neutral in most cases. But some of these clones in Trebbiano di Soave or Trebbiano di Lugana next door maybe over, cultivation and reducing the amount of yield that they get from the vineyard, so you get much more flavour. They've turned into something much better. And actually, Trebbiano is not the sort of wadding, the cavity wall insulation that people like to think it is. It is capable of making delicious wine. There's a Trebbiano at Waitrose currently, which has a little actual metal label on it from Italy, from Pemberton. Is it Pemberton? Sorry, Bremerton Winery, which is quite delicious. So it's all a question of how greedy you want to be with Trebbiano Uni Blanc as a variety. The more you produce, the duller it gets. But these guys, I'm pretty sure, are around 100% Garganega, if not actually 100% Garganega. This is their entry-level wine, which is just called Soave Classico 2019. It goes up to Soave Classico Superiore La Rocca 2017, which is a barrel-aged beauty of a wine, and I would put in the top 5 white wines in the whole of Italy. Now, there are very expensive white wines in Italy, and Pieropan La Rocca 2017, which is exquisite, is 30 quid. So if it's your birthday, buy a bottle of that instead of some shithouse champagne, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is made from a variety. It's made in the northeast of Italy. It was laughed at in the 70s, but has now become somewhere where virtually only fine wine is now made, or decent wine is made. There was a producer called Giuseppe Campagnola when I was a wine buyer at the wonderful supermarket of Waitrose back in the 90s, which made a wine box for us, which we had shipped to the UK and bottled in Corby bottlers up in Corby, is that Northamptonshire, I think it is. And we have this wine box of delicious wine. And actually, if you're looking for proper plonk, hey guys, out there, students, smuggling booze into music festivals. I know that it's not happening this year, but mark my words, it's going to happen again one day. Bring a wine box of Sainsbury's Soave. It's like 12 quid still for 4 whole bottles of wine, and it's perfectly delicious. It's perfectly good drinking. You don't like it, but lemonade in it. And you can use the inner as a pillow afterwards. Okay. If you're a concert or a festival goer, wine boxes are the future. Okay, so. Oh my God. So I've waited a long time. I know that Liberty sent this to me when I just started the channel, which was extremely generous of them. I can only assume they were supporting me in some way. And I just opened the bottle. It's the perfect balance between minerality and fruity. It's not a fruit bomb like a pineapple drop from some warm area of Australia, nor is it just stones and acid like some lesser made wines from the north of Europe, and particularly in England and things like that. It is that sensation of, I've got lime, there's a little bit of quince maybe, there's a little bit of melon, nothing really showy or exotic, but it has a mouthful of texture and density and chalky minerality because it's concentrated, with a lift and a flare and a bounce, which means that if you're even eating something very delicate like cacio e pepe, okay, so if you have cacio e pepe, pecorino romano, ground pepper and a spaghettoni on a plate, which is, something that delicate and something that simple, so easy to just kind of bulldoze with the wine. This one is the perfect thing to have with that. So if you're having cacio e pepe in Rome, in some cool trendy restaurants, ask for a glass of Pieropan Soave. You can't go wrong. But also it'll go very, very well with things like barbecued sardines. You can go with something strong enough, like some air-dried tuna. It will go with sea urchin roe. It's an incredibly versatile wine and is way ahead of the competition in terms of class. If I was going to buy this wine right now, I'd go to Slurp online, who was selling this brilliant glass of Italian history for 15 quid. There you go. And it's an absolute banger this year, let me tell you. Okay, so next one. There's a producer, an importer, which all the restaurants, all the serious restaurants in England know about, called Top Selection. You know who you are. Top Selection very quickly had to try and evolve through this crisis that we're all still kind of plugged into. And they decided to open both a shop but also an online wine merchant very close to where I am called Nine Elms Wines. Nine Elms is the basically the road that runs along the south bank of the Thames towards Waterloo, past Battersea Power Station, and they've called it Nine Elms Wine. So you can buy this wine as a consumer now for $16.99, or go to a really nice restaurant where a large majority of this wine is sold. Now the restaurants are open. Adua. Okay, so Adua is a Gavi. Now, I think Gavi appeared out of nowhere, didn't it? A kind of suddenly, oh, Gavi, and so on. I thought, try Gavi. Oh, I like Gavi. Well, there's good Gavi and there's really shit Gavi. Most of the really basic Gavi, I'm not mentioning places or names and everything because sometimes you find something that's really excellent in those sort of places. But if you're going to go cheap on the Gavi, if you're going to do a $6.99 on Gavi, it's a thin, scrawny, slightly appley, like the old shit Soave kind of wines or old crappy Pinot Grigio kind of wines. But it's got lots of residual sugar, and because there's residual sweetness in the wine, it hides a lot of the cracks. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about Gavi. Now, why is Gavi so revered by Italians and in Italy? I'll tell you why. There are world-class wines in Italy. I mean, revered in a way that almost no wines on earth are revered apart from in France. The greatest Barolos, single cru Barolos, the greatest Barbarescos, the greatest Brunellos, the greatest Vinobles. There's all sorts of things. They all get this status, like Appellation Contrôlée in France, Qualitätswein mit Prädikat in Germany. In Italy, it is Denominazione Ordine Controllata. If it's really pimp, it's not DOC, it's DOCG. Denominazione Ordine Controllata e Garantita. The only white wine in the whole of Italy that had DOCG status in the 90s? This fucker. Okay, let's have a taste. This is made from a grape variety called Cortese del Piemonte. And I just completely bloody love it. It's a wine that in simple wines, if you drink things like Bianco di Custosa, which is a blend of that and other varieties, is a kind of like a sherbety fresh wine. If you've got guys have got old vine Cortese who don't want to filter it, don't want to use any cultivated yeast, but are trying to make a wine that has richness of expression, that's basically natural, that has maybe naturally goes through a natural secondary bacterial ferment, which we call the MLF, you end up with a wine like this. That's what it smells like. It's pillowy and creamy. Sure, there's something a little bit raw and curdy and natural around the edges, but it has incredible texture. This is Cortese, which is known to be the sherbet dip dab of the wine world. Here we've got a wine that tastes like a sponge cake. It's got such richness and roundness to it. Delicious. Great with seafood. You don't go very far from here. You go to Geneva for some really fantastic shrimp. And I love Gavi, particularly with red mullet. One of the great fishes. Any pelagic fish, those fishes like that. Fantastic snapper. Brilliant. So at $16.99, you're pushing into the top 5% of all Gavi. At the top, the apex predator, there's Gavi dei Gavi, La Scolca. One of the most incredible experiences of my life was visiting that winery. And that was before Gavi was even popular. So then going back to me talking about episode 15 right at the beginning, I've put this at the end, not because it's the best wine here, because in fact it's the least expensive. I think it's a tenner. I'm not sure exactly, but it's about a tenner. And this wine's from Waitrose, and it's from a producer called Paolo Leo. I was looking for a wine to complete the trilogy of wines from Campania. So we had Falanghina, Greco di Tuffo, and we also had Fiano dell'Avellino. Well, I'm getting Fiano from another region. The grapes from this wine are Fiano, same variety. Some of the soils are sort of similar, but not as volcanic. But this is from Brindisi and Lecce, which is kind of, if Italy was a boot, this is in the stiletto, it's in the heel kind of thing. Fiano was considered the best variety in the southern Italy regions. going back to Middle Ages. Kings and queens had this on their label, on their table, and there is some evidence to show this variety originally started in parts of Croatia. It had to come across the water. Oh God, it's so pretty. Fiano is a bit like Viognier, but there's no relationship. Although that actually did originate from the same area. It's beautiful. It smells of confit pears, aniseed. If you ever go to Waitrose and buy their frozen apple tart with cinnamon on it, which is delicious, made by Fauchon in Paris, by the way, and they're like a £5. Crazy, right? Now, that wine smells of that pure, cool smell of pears and freshness and melon. Bloody hell. Okay, it's the cheapest there, but it might be the most engaging. Absolutely delicious wine. So we've got Soave. Don't fuck with the Soave. Don't knock it. Pieropan, probably pretty much the kind of the pope of Soave. Beautiful wines. Everything that has Pieropan written on the label is worth drinking. From this, their basic wine, right up to their expensive sweet wines. They have Adua, a wine that only came across through a tasting, through R&R teamwork. Thank you very much for top selection. Just fantastic, textured, rich Italian white. That is going with some fish pie. And then Fiano del Salento, which still shows the varietal expression of Fiano del Avellino, but it is different. So if you can show episode 15 and this episode, whichever episode this is, 50 I'm showing you variety, what Italian wines are about. So Garganiga from Soave, Cortese del Piemonte from Gavi, Fiano from Salento. My father once said, Why is German. Why is Italy shaped like a boot? I don't know, Dad, because you can't put that much crap in a slipper.